One of the things we don't teach in school as much, because there's so much to teach when you're in grade school, is that every animal makes a decision, and not necessarily a brain decision, but an evolutionary decision on energy. Animals don't spend energy that they don't need to spend for some reason most of the time. Even when animals play and they're using energy, we know that a lot of species, their animals are playing to learn a skill that they need to survive.
Yeah.
It's an interesting topic. We should get back to that one, but I want to get back to you swimming with sharks. So let's focus on bull sharks for a little bit more. I've seen some of your video where you're swimming with bull sharks as they come towards you to check you out. But then I see people put their hands underneath the shark and kind of guide the shark away from them. And I wonder, is that a good idea?
It depends who you are. If you're a very experienced person diving with sharks, then you know what you're doing. Then it's not a risk.
If you're the diver or you're swimming and you don't know anything about sharks, how would you behave?
As calm as you can and hold your ground. Like I say, don't run and don't turn and swim away. Make a noise, shout through your regulator. No prey makes noises underwater. I always think the punching on the nose thing, which they used to suggest years ago, shark's mouth's not far from its nose, and it's quite a slippery nose, You give it a little dig on the nose, and it's just going to slide underneath, isn't it? And it's straight in the mouth. Well, I wouldn't risk that.
So, if a shark's coming to check me out, let's say I'm snorkeling, and I turn towards the shark, but I'm not really comfortable with the idea of a shark swimming up to me and kind of nuzzling me to find out whether or not I'm something interesting. What do I do, Ally? What do I do to tell that shark I need my distance?
Use your reg to blow bubbles out, make yourself a bit bigger, spread your arms out, keep your hands in. You find a lot of divers nowadays also have cameras, and some of the cameras are very big units. Yeah? Put that in between you and the shark. You see, and sometimes it's the camera they're actually coming to see because of the electrical impulse is giving off this camera.
I wondered about that. So we know there's a lot of people in the Caribbean, and I would imagine around the world, that are spear fishermen. And especially with the invasion of lionfish, we know that fish has propagated throughout many of the oceans, and people are trying to make an effort to go get those lionfish out of reefs and areas. So they're spearing fish, and the fish, of course, is starting to wiggle and move around on the end of the spear that says, "Oh, I'm food and I'm in distress." If you're a spear fisherman, what do you do when that shark comes over to take that fish from you?
First of all, you try and avoid having those situations, yeah? Where a shark's eyes work, tend to be dusk and dawn most of the time they're going to be feeding, yeah? If the water's murky, don't get in. Sharks have got much better vision underwater than us. They've got eyes a bit like a cat's eye or a crocodile's eye, yeah? They've got the lens on the back that reflects the light so they can see more in low visibility. Just always dive in pairs so you can see, you've got someone covering your back, as it were. And if you see the shark acting like that, if it goes from swinging calmly, it arches its back and it puts its fins down, it's that shark's territory, yeah? If it's moving in an area hunting, let it go first. If that shark's eating something, and then you feed, join its hierarchy, let the shark have it, yeah? Let the shark take the food. It's not going to eat your food if it's got its own, so let the shark have the food first. It needs it to survive, you don't.
Okay, so bull sharks, black tip sharks. Tell me how you act differently when you are diving around those two different species of sharks.
Well, a bull shark tends to be lower down in the water, tends to be further down. Bull sharks, they're larger, they're slower, more graceful animal, so you can watch it and feel. With the black tips, they tend to be more clustered together, so you stay back and look in on them, don't encroach on an animal, It's like any animal. Let them come to you rather than you go to them, as it were. Because if you start encroaching on them, you're like, that shark's like, this thing's bigger than me, it's coming towards me, it might want to eat me. They haven't got a sting on their tail like a scorpion or a bee. They've got a mouth. Yeah, they haven't got hands to punch you. So the only thing they've got is that mouth. And all of a sudden, you've encroached on it, it's giving you a nip, but then it's the shark that gets the bad name in the press.
So your point is really great. So if I were going to go on holiday somewhere and get into waters I haven't been in before, it would probably be a great idea to do two things. go with somebody who's been there before and knows all the animals in that area, but also to take the time to get on the internet and look up what species of sharks might I encounter, and what do they eat, and what eats them.
The internet gives you so much information. Look at reliable sources though. There's a lot of, don't just go on chat rooms, things like that. Go through your big dive sources. You look for your local dive centre and ask them. I speak with Walter all the time. He's been diving in this area for years. Even when we're working with scientists, they'll ask Walter's opinion because of the experience. Local knowledge is worth so much. And when you've got that, or when you're with them, you'll be calmer. So those electrical impulses aren't coming off that crazy heartbeat, so you don't look as much like food. So it's always just get the information. The best form of conservation is information.
It's great advice. Okay, I'm going to recap this, if I can. See what I learned about getting in the water with sharks. First thing, get local knowledge. Talk to somebody who you have confidence in that knows what they're doing in the water where you're going to go. Second thing would be, understand that sharks tend to eat in the times of the day that are low light. So first thing in the morning, last thing before the sun goes down. And
or when it's really overcast. If you look at the majority of sharks that are predators, they got a dark back and a light belly. It's called counter shading, and it works best in low level light conditions. You find it in loads of animals. You find it in penguins, ospreys, your orcas that you work with have. You could be in the water and within a couple of kicks of that tail, they're almost invisible to you then.
Good point. So don't be in the water at times that they might eat. Sharks are curious and they have personalities. So if they do approach you, don't act like prey. Stay calm. Don't swim towards them because they might interpret that as you're going to hurt them. But don't swim away because now you're acting like something that might be delicious and they should check it out. Things that look like prey could be shiny things because they have an electrical impulse and they might look like scales of fish, or hands that stick out of your wetsuit because the black part kind of goes away, but the white part of your hand might look like a fish waving around, and that could be worth checking out. If you're spearfishing, then you're holding their food. Keeping it next to you is a bad idea. Look up the species of sharks that you're going to be near in your area, not only by talking to locals, but we have resources that we can do that. So bull sharks feed from the bottom, don't be under. And understand that if they come towards you, panic is a bad idea. That most of the time they're curious. They're looking to conserve energy by only eating what they've evolved to eat, which should be the most efficient thing to hunt and the most calories for the energy they're going to use to get that piece of prey. And so we're not on the menu, but it doesn't mean they don't need to check us out to see what we are or if we're worth it. Did I miss anything? I learned a lot.
No. I think you got everything there.
I feel much better about getting in the water with sharks.
You have to come out here and get in the water with the sharks with us, and we'll show you more.
When airplanes start flying again, and we're not worried about making each other sick again, then I will be in South Africa with you, and people are invited to join us in South Africa to do these things with you. So thank you for all of that. We'll talk soon.
Always a pleasure. All right, see you soon.